What if I told you 1 in 3 truck owners wasted thousands on vehicles that looked bulletproof until they started falling apart? Today, we're exposing 20 trucks that look tough on the lot, but quietly drained wallets, bank accounts, and patience. Before you buy your next truck, watch this, because one wrong choice could cost you years of repairs and regret. We'll begin with a model so iconic, nobody believed it could fail, until it started eating itself from the inside out. At number 20, Ford F-150. It looked unstoppable, America's truck royalty, reborn for the modern age. By the mid-2000s, Ford's fresh F-150 promised luxury comfort with blue-collar grit, crowned by its new 5.4-liter Triton 5.8. On paper, it was refinement meets power. In reality, that engine became a ticking time bomb hidden under a shiny hood. The two-piece spark plugs fused themselves into the heads, snapping like brittle glass when removed. A simple tune-up turned open-heart surgery. Then came the death rattle, not from speakers or loose bolts, but deep in the timing chain where the cam phasers lost oil pressure and began to chatter like a diesel. Ignore it, and you risked catastrophic timing failure. Mechanics learned to dread the sound. Owners learned to fear it. Even Ford's technical bulletins read like medical charts for a patient on life support. It's tragic, really. A truck built to haul dreams that instead hauled repair bills. The F-150's body was tough, its soul legendary, but that Triton engine taught millions a brutal truth. Even kings can rust from within. The next one looked perfect on paper, until the engine decided fuel economy meant self-destruction. Number 19. Chevrolet Silverado 1500. It was supposed to be the everyman's workhorse, smooth, quiet, and bulletproof. But when GM's engineers introduced active fuel management in the late 2000s, they accidentally built one of the most infamous oil burners in truck history. The idea sounded genius. Shut off 4 cylinders at cruise to save fuel. Instead, owners watched those same cylinders chew oil faster than a teenager through junk food. Rings coked up, plugs fouled, and quart bottles became glove box essentials. Then the lifters started dropping like flies. A cold start tick here, a flashing check engine light there, until the truck sounded like a popcorn machine under the hood. FM lifter failures left dead cylinders and bills that made new car payments look cheap. GM's fix? Bulletins, band-aids, and fluid swaps that felt more like hope than cure. Even lawsuits followed, confirming what mechanics already knew. These engines ate themselves slowly, and just when Silverado owners thought the nightmare was over, the 8-speed transmission joined the party with its rumble strip shutter. Highway drives turned into vibrating therapy sessions. The result? A great truck buried under its own engineering experiments. If that sounded bad, wait until you hear the one that literally ticks before it dies. Number 18. Ram 1500. It's the kind of heartbreak that starts with a whisper, a faint tap from the engine bay that owners hoped was harmless. But under that iconic HEMI badge lurked a ticking time bomb. Ram's multi-displacement system promised V8 power with V6 efficiency, shutting cylinders off to save fuel. Instead, it handed thousands of drivers the dreaded Hemi tick. Those collapsible lifters inside the MDS would seize, eat through the camshaft, and scatter metal like shrapnel through the oil system. At first, dealerships brushed it off as normal noise, but the tick grew louder. Misfires joined in, and tear-down photos flooded forums. Flat lobes, gouged rollers, ruined bearings. Owners learned the pattern. Spend thousands on a full lifter and cam job, or roll the dice until the engine quit. Some disabled MDS with tuners, others prayed after every oil change. The fix rarely came cheap, and never with certainty. What made it sting most? The truck itself was excellent, comfortable, handsome, powerful. Yet beneath that polished rumble hid an expensive rhythm of regret. Engines survive abuse, but this next truck proves steel doesn't forgive salt. Number 17. Toyota Tacoma. It's the kind of betrayal no one saw coming, from the brand that built its legend on unbreakable trucks. The mid-2000s Tacoma looked bulletproof, simple, capable, and practically allergic to depreciation. But beneath that reputation, hid a secret enemy: rust. Frames in northern climates began rotting from the inside out, quietly corroding until inspections revealed holes big enough to push a screwdriver through. The myth of Toyota toughness met the reality of Midwest winters, and owners paid the price. Toyota's response was sweeping but sobering. Not just recalls, full-on frame replacement programs, corrosion-resistant coatings, and even buybacks when decay crossed certain limits. Dealers became part-time metallurgists, measuring, tapping, and photographing frames for factory approval. In the worst cases, new frames went under old cabs, a process so invasive it felt like open-heart surgery for steel. The trucks still ran beautifully, which almost made it worse. Owners adored their Tacoma's engines and reliability, yet dreaded the next inspection sticker. Some were spared by dry climates. Others watched dreams dissolve into orange dust. For many, the lesson was painful. Even legends can rot when the elements get a vote. Before we move on, make sure you're subscribed, so the next time a great deal hides a nightmare engine, you'll see it coming long before your wallet does. Number 16. Nissan Frontier. It's the kind of failure that feels personal. A $200 radiator that quietly kills a $4,000 transmission. The mid to late 2000s Frontier carried Nissan's 4.0-liter V6 and the promise of simple, honest toughness. Then owners discovered SMOD, the strawberry milkshake of death. A ruptured internal cooler let coolant and transmission fluid mix, turning the gearbox into a pink smoothie of doom. By the time symptoms showed, clutches were slipping and wallets were emptying. Nissan eventually settled lawsuits, offering limited reimbursements and extended coverage. But prevention became the community's gospel. Bypass the cooler, add an external unit, pray you caught it in time. The tragedy? Otherwise, these trucks were terrific: tight steering, stout chassis, true workhorse bones. Even those who dodged SMOD weren't entirely safe. A high-pitched whine from the timing chains warned of worn guides, another expensive fix waiting in the wings. Yet loyalists persisted, wrenching, flushing, and modifying to keep them alive. The Frontier didn't betray its owners maliciously, it just made them engineers by necessity. Now for a truck that tried to reinvent the formula and paid the price for being different. Number 15. Honda Ridgeline. It was the pickup for people who secretly hated pickups. The first-generation Ridgeline drove like a big Accord, rode smoother than rivals, and packed clever ideas like an in-bed trunk. But when owners skipped one small maintenance ritual, that brilliance soured fast. Neglect the VTM4 rear differential fluid, and the truck would start groaning around corners like it was haunted. The fix? A fluid flush with Honda's pricey elixir. Simple, yet critical. Ignore it, and those internal clutches wore themselves to dust. Then came the towing letdown. Honda said 5,000 pounds. Buyers heard, no problem. But load it heavy, climb a mountain, and the transmission heat told another story. This was a brilliant commuter and weekend adventurer, not a scaled-down half-ton. Push it beyond that comfort zone, and it pushed back, with fade, stress, and expensive lessons. Still, the Ridgeline wasn't a fraud. It was a genius misunderstood. Treat it like a Civic with a bed, and it lasts forever. Treat it like a Silverado, and it'll teach humility fast. From quiet comfort to violent vibration, this next truck shakes up the definition of smooth. Number 14. GMC Canyon. It looked like the perfect downsized truck. Sharp styling, premium cabin, and just enough muscle to tow a camper without drinking fuel like a V8. But inside its 8-speed automatic lived a secret that ruined road trips everywhere: the shudder. At first, it felt like a faint vibration at highway speed, then a full-blown rumble strip symphony every time the torque converter locked up. Owners swapped tires, balanced drive shafts, even changed fluids, until GM finally admitted the culprit was the transmission itself. The fix sounded simple: a 20-quart flush with a special blue label Mobil 1 fluid. Done right, it worked. Done wrong, the shudder came roaring back. Thousands learned the hard way that precision mattered, and so did warranty coverage. For some, the shaking never left, even after converters were replaced. Then came the diesel drama. The baby Duramax offered torque heaven, until DEF heaters and sensors failed in cold weather, sending trucks into limp mode. The Canyon wasn't weak, just over-engineered in all the wrong places. If the last one rattled your teeth, this next one might just shake itself apart. Number 13. Dodge Dakota. It was the middleweight champion that punched above its class, until the bills started landing like uppercuts. The early 2000s, Dakota gave buyers V8 swagger in a mid-size shell, but the honeymoon ended with clunks and creaks from the front end. Ball joints, tie rods, and rack bushings wore out so fast that Chrysler had to issue a recall. Mechanics joked you could tell a Dakota's mileage by how much play was in the steering wheel. Then came the heat. The 4.7-liter V8 ran strong, until it didn't. A weak cooling system and sludge-prone oil passages turned routine commutes into overheating roulette. Once these engines cooked, they rarely recovered. Heads warped, gaskets failed, and wallets cried. In northern climates, rust finished what heat started, quietly eating frame rails, cross members, and shackle mounts. The Dakota's tragedy isn't that it was bad, it was almost great. But rust, front-end fatigue, and fragile cooling made ownership a full-time hobby. Treat one right, and it's lovable. Neglect it, and it'll crumble faster than a snowplow blade in March. From one battered chassis to another, this next one takes its punishment literally, by fire. Number 12. Jeep Gladiator. When Jeep finally built a pickup again, fans lined up like it was a national holiday. Open roof, trail ready, pure freedom, until reality burned through the dream. Literally. Early manual transmission Gladiators faced a fire risk when their clutches overheated and shattered, scattering hot debris through the bell housing. It wasn't a rumor. NHTSA recalls confirmed it. What should have been a weekend toy suddenly felt like a liability with a recall letter attached. Even after fixes, confidence never fully returned. Owners described vague clutch feel, slipping under heat, and replacement parts that didn't inspire trust. For the off-road faithful, that felt like betrayal. You buy a Jeep to conquer rocks, not melt on them. Then came the modders. Big tires and small gears punished drivelines, overworking clutches and hunting automatics. The dream truck that could do everything suddenly couldn't do much without upgrades. For a brand built on adventure, the Gladiator's growing pains hurt worse than scratches on paint. The next one swapped boulders for boulevards, and still couldn't take the heat. Number 11. Hyundai Santa Cruz. It's the pickup for people who love SUVs, but want to haul mulch once a year. Sleek, fast, and shockingly refined, the Turbo Santa Cruz feels like a sports car wearing work boots, until the transmission gets hot. Its 2.5-liter turbo engine pairs with a wet dual-clutch gearbox designed for snap and efficiency, but under towing stress or slow crawling, that precision turns fragile. Clutches slip, heat builds, and the dashboard flashes. Transmission temperature high, stop safely. Hyundai issued recalls and software flashes to calm things down, teaching the DCT better self-protection. It helped, but not enough for owners who treated it like a Tacoma. Creep too long on a boat ramp, and the Santa Cruz protects itself by going limp. Literally, the system isn't broken. It's just out of its element. Used like a crossover, it's brilliant. Quiet, quick, and efficient. Treat it like a truck, and it reminds you it's not one. The Santa Cruz doesn't fail. It enforces boundaries. The next one proves nostalgia isn't protection against bad DNA. Number 10. Subaru Baja. It looked like someone welded a pickup bed to an Outback, and that's exactly why people loved it. But the Baja's charm came with a maintenance tab. Its 2.5-liter boxer engine was famous for weeping head gaskets that smelled sweet after shutdown. The kind of slow-leak Subaru tried to band-aid with coolant conditioner campaigns. Ignore it long enough, and you'd be pulling the motor for a full gasket job. Then came torque bind, the four-letter phrase every aging Subaru owner fears. The all-wheel drive clutch inside the automatic would stick, turning parking lot maneuvers into hopping, lurching misery. Fixable, yes, but never cheap. Add in rear subframe rust from salted roads and exhaust bolts that dissolved faster than Alka-Seltzer, and the Baja's quirks turned into corrosion art projects. Still, it's hard not to root for it. The Baja wasn't pretending to be tough. It was a loyal oddball that asked only for regular tributes of coolant, ATF, and rust proofing. Pay those taxes on time, and this half truck, half wagon becomes full-time fun. Number 9. Mazda B-series. It looked like a tough little Mazda, but under the badge was pure Ford DNA. The late 90s B-series was basically a Ranger in disguise. Same engines, same frame, same headaches. Buyers thought they were getting Japanese reliability. What they got was 1990s Detroit engineering dressed in a polite grille. The result? A truck that aged like milk in northern climates and nickel-and-dimed owners everywhere else. The 3.0-liter Vulcan Phi 6 was the safe choice until its cam synchronizer chirped like a canary before oil pressure failure. The 4.0 liters rear timing chain made mechanics swear. Engine out, wallet empty kind of work. Add in rust-prone frames and spring hangers that turned to lace, and suddenly, your cheap work truck needed a welding bay. Safety didn't save it either. The B-series lagged behind newer rivals in crash protection, steering feel, and refinement. Loyal owners kept fixing them out of habit, but the smarter ones learned firsthand. A rebadged Ranger isn't a Mazda miracle. It's a Ford with a longer warranty and the same regrets. The next badge tried to look bold, but underneath, it was déjà vu on 4 wheels. Number 8. Mitsubishi Raider. It looked bold and square-jawed, but under the Mitsubishi badge was a Dodge Dakota wearing borrowed clothes. Built to fill a lineup gap, the Raider shared its American cousin's chassis, steering, and suspension, and all its headaches. Ball joints, tie rods, and hub bearings wore faster than the paint could dry. For owners, vague steering and front-end clunks became the Raider's theme song. The optional 4.7-liter V8 added drama of its own. Overheat it once, and you risk dropping valve seats from the heads. A single bad day turning into a full engine teardown. Mechanics knew the story by heart. Keep it cool, or it'll spit a seat. It was that fragile. But what truly doomed the Raider wasn't mechanical. It was isolation. Mitsubishi's shrinking dealer network meant long drives for service and slow parts pipelines. Owning one became a scavenger hunt of cross-referenced Dodge part numbers and sympathetic mechanics. The Raider wasn't a terrible truck. It was a truck without a country, too American for Japan, too forgotten for America. If obscurity had a logo, the next one would wear it proudly. Number 7. Isuzu I-Series. Blink and you missed it. The Isuzu I-Series was GM's Colorado with a different badge, born during the brand's final gasp in the US. It wasn't bad, it was invisible. Underneath sat the same GMT 355 chassis, Atlas inline engines, and 4-speed automatic. But by 2008, Isuzu had already announced its retreat from passenger cars. Owning one felt like buying a ticket for a show that was already over. Mechanically, it inherited GM's quirks wholesale. Early 3.5 and 3.7-liter Atlas engines suffered from valve seat issues that caused misfires and low compression, while the 5-cylinder's rough manners made every cold start a guessing game. For Colorado owners, fixes came fast. For I-Series drivers, it meant convincing a shrinking Isuzu dealer to honor GM bulletins. That's where regret crept in, not under the hood, but at the parts counter. Trim pieces vanished, VIN confusion reigned, and resale collapsed the moment Isuzu walked away. The truck itself could handle work duty fine, it's the brand that didn't. The I-Series became a rolling metaphor for Isuzu's US exit, competent, forgotten, and stranded without a home team. And just when you thought badge swapping couldn't get weirder, this next one vanished mid-production. Number 6. Suzuki Equator. The Suzuki Equator was the right truck launched at the worst possible time. Built by Nissan and sold through Suzuki dealers, it was a frontier in everything but the badge, and that badge became the problem. Suzuki's US auto arm collapsed just 3 years later, leaving owners with a solid truck and a brand that no longer existed. It's the kind of irony you can't make up. Mechanically, the Equator shared the Frontier's strengths and scars. The 4.0-liter V6 pulled hard and towed confidently, but early models risked the notorious radiator leak that mixed coolant and transmission fluid into a strawberry milkshake of death. Nissan extended warranties and lawsuits flew, but Equator owners had to fight for inclusion. Many bypassed the radiator entirely, installing external coolers as a survival move. Everything else felt pure Frontier. Tight chassis, honest steering, old-school grit. The regret came later, when Suzuki's service network evaporated and even trim pieces went extinct. You could fix it anywhere, but never easily. The Equator proved you can build a great truck, but if the company behind it disappears, you're driving an orphan with a tow hitch. Now we leave the orphans behind and step into luxury, where money doesn't buy maintenance. Number 5. Cadillac Escalade EXT. It looked like the boss of every job site, but secretly hated hard work. The Cadillac Escalade EXT was part truck, part luxury suite, an avalanche in a tuxedo. It had chrome everywhere, a midgate that folded like magic, and an interior that smelled like money. But once the novelty wore off, owners learned that luxury and longevity rarely share a garage. Underneath, the EXT's complexity was its curse. Air suspensions hissed, compressors failed, and $1,500 shock bills arrived like clockwork. The mighty 6.2-liter V8 brought power and swagger, but also transmission woes from fractured wave plates and AFM lifter collapses that turned smooth V8s into metal maracas. Each repair taught a $2,000 lesson in humility. Even the clever midgate betrayed owners over time. Leaky seals, rattling panels, and a bed too short for real truck chores. Payload numbers barely cleared 1,200 pounds, so you could move furniture or mulch, but not both. The EXT remains a gorgeous contradiction, a truck built for the valet line, not the work line. It promised silent strength and delivered expensive silence instead. We've seen fragile luxury, now meet brute force that broke itself. Number 4. Hummer H2 SUT. The Hummer H2 SUT looked unstoppable until you tried to stop it. Weighing over 3 tons, it was a monument to early 2000s excess. Military swagger, suburban polish, and a bed so tiny you could barely fit a lawnmower. It didn't haul, it announced. 12 miles per gallon on a good day, and a turning radius like a ferry boat. The gas pump wasn't an errand, it was a lifestyle. Underneath the armor was a GM 3/4-ton skeleton with a 6.0-liter Vortec V8, a drivetrain borrowed from heavy trucks, and repair bills to match. Those front hubs, brake rotors, and steering parts fought gravity every mile, wearing out faster than owners expected from a luxury badge. The parts were easy to find, but you'd find them often. Then came the irony, a pickup that could conquer Moab, yet couldn't carry plywood. Its midgate folded, sure, but the bed barely cleared 3 feet before it hit the cab. For all its off-road talent, the SUT lived and died in driveways, symbolizing America's appetite for too much. It promised strength, delivered spectacle, and taught that excess is its own kind of weight. From yesterday's gas-guzzling giant to tomorrow's electric gamble, the future has its own flaws. Number 3. Rivian R1T. It didn't just reinvent the truck, it rewired the idea of one. The Rivian R1T arrived like science fiction on 4 tires. Quad motors spinning out 835 horsepower, air suspension that crouched or climbed at will, and silence so profound it made V8s sound prehistoric. It could outdrag sports cars, scale boulders, and still whisper down a city street. On paper, perfection. In the real world, perfection needed parts. Early owners became pioneers with service tickets. Panels didn't always align, 12-volt systems threw tantrums, and sensor hiccups sent trucks into protection modes. The engineering was brilliant. The logistics were learning to walk. If your nearest Rivian center was close, life was good. If not, mobile service meant patience and a rental car. Even towing exposed the fine print. Haul a trailer, and your 300-mile range could turn into 150, sometimes less. Charging with a trailer meant awkward decoupling and planning trips like tactical missions. Still, Rivian's over-the-air updates kept evolving the truck weekly, fixing, refining, teaching it new tricks. The R1T proved something bigger. Electric trucks work, but being first always means paying tuition in time, not just money. Now meet the truck that didn't just enter the conversation, it was the argument. Number 2, Tesla Cybertruck. It didn't roll off the line, it crash-landed into culture. The Tesla Cybertruck was less a vehicle and more a dare. Stainless steel body, flat planes, armored glass, and an ego visible from orbit. It promised apocalypse-proof durability and 0 to 60 in a blink. But early deliveries proved that even stainless steel can't deflect growing pains. Owners found brilliance wrapped in beta testing. Yes, it's outrageously quick. The steering feels sci-fi precise. The chassis glides silently, and torque arrives like lightning from a cloudless sky. But living with one means accepting quirks the brochure didn't brag about. Wind hiss from that single wiper, heavy tire wear, alignment battles, and stainless panels that turn dent repair into an art form. Insurance adjusters learned fast. Fixing a triangle isn't cheap. Then came recalls, sticky accelerator covers, wiper motor failures, trim updates, all handled quickly but loudly. Towing revealed physics unchanged by hype, strap-on 7,000 pounds, and range drops by half. Still, few trucks turn heads like this stainless spaceship. The Cybertruck is both prophecy and prototype, proof that the future can arrive early, but never effortlessly. After all that chaos, our final truck proves failure doesn't need batteries or hype, it just needs bad judgment. Number 1, Lincoln Blackwood. Imagine a pickup so posh, it came with carpet in the bed. That was the Lincoln Blackwood, a truck that mistook luxury for purpose and paid the price in a single model year. It wore chrome, leather, and attitude, but forgot what a truck is supposed to do. Rear-wheel drive only, one color, one bed finish. Black, shiny, and useless for anything heavier than golf clubs. Pop that powered lid, and you'd find a velvet-lined vault pretending to be a bed. Stainless trim, lighting, even a fake wood grain floor. Perfect for wine crates, terrible for mulch. Owners quickly realized you couldn't haul without heartbreak, and every real task risked ruining the decor. It wasn't a truck, it was a conversation piece that ended in silence. Then came the air suspension headaches, compressors wheezing, sensors failing, ride height stuck mid-sentence. Repairs were costly, patience was shorter, and resale fell through the floor. The Blackwood wasn't unreliable, so much as impractical, a $52,000 misunderstanding between brand and buyer. It taught Detroit's luxury divisions a painful truth. Plush sells, but carpeted truck beds don't. Now that you know which trucks to avoid, don't miss the car brands falling apart next. Our next video exposes 15 automakers on the edge of collapse. Watch before your next purchase.